Hi guys, welcome. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, the Mojo Maker, and welcome back. It's been a long time since I've done live. It's been a very, very busy couple of weeks here at Mojo HQ. In fact, I've been traveling a lot and I've been working in the trenches with some really important clients lately. So if you're just joining this live or if you happen to watch it later, welcome. If you haven't already seen one of my lives before or hopped onto my podcast, Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker Show, it's on Spotify and iTunes, and just come over and check out nikkifogdenmoore.com and you can sign up for Monday Mojo. I'm a little bit of an under emailer, so if you're on my opt-in list, I'm not going to bombard you with too many emails. You might get one or two a month. There's heaps of stuff packed into that, and I think next year we're going to be adding some radical value. But most importantly, lately, I want to talk to you about part of mastering the art of flow or an action, and how you can actually glide your way into the rest of 2022 and have an even more remarkable and radical year ahead for 2023. So the reason I'm talking about a Chinese ancient kind of philosophy called Wu Wei, which is inaction, or it's like flow, not force. And if you're into martial arts or you're into, Fight Club or UFC or anything on Netflix lately, I'm not talking about so much Conor McGregor, but I'm talking about things with a long-term ancient proverb of just not having any force or friction. Another really cool martial arts that is Israeli martial arts called, I think it's Krav Maga, and they do the same thing. So it's close combat and is purely about making sure that you limit the amount of fight time and force, and you get yourself out of a difficult situation as fast as possible. So your body and your mind is a lethal weapon, and I want to explain to you in today's session how that actually is a bucket approach in your mental aptitude. And this is all about making conscious decisions and not feeling stressed out, not feeling overwhelmed, not feeling like you're running into this year totally exhausted. But I want to give you a couple of really, really little extraordinary secrets that I use that are all around the philosophy of Wu Wei, which is inaction or flow. Now, I call this zero gravity. So if you're going to be getting my fourth book, which is really exciting, then I talk about all these principles and also the modeling and the IP around that conscious decision making that I work with. But I wanted to give you some dictionary aspects of how you can actually achieve flow state or Wu Wei in action, and how beneficial that can be for you on a cellular level, on a business level, on a relationship level, and even just getting through Christmas. So number one, if you're going through the end of the year right now and you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and just fed up and everybody around you is cranky and it's just kind of a little bit chaotic, chances are you're not alone. Everyone is feeling like that. We're kind of having a COVID hangover. I don't think anyone's had a real break. I know running a business, there are many small, medium business owners out there that are trapped in that middle level of having to work 80 to 120 hours a week. We're very low on staff. Everybody's exhausted. No one has stability or certainty, and the whole world is feeling upside down. So join the club. Everybody's stressed out, but I want to give you a couple of tools today in this live and whenever you're watching it, where you can master the art of flow. Very, very important. Why would we bother mastering the art of flow? We all talk about it. So whether you listen to Tony Robbins or Dr. Joe Dispenza or even Lewis Howes or anyone that's into Aubrey Marcus, anyone that's kind of into this self-leadership, which we should all be into, because that means we've got strong individuals making conscious decisions. But if you're into self-leadership, then you've really actually got to be willing to practice the principles of achieving flow in any given moment. And when we make a decision from this flow state, we make a decision from curiosity instead of fear, we make a decision from calm instead of panic, when we make a conscious decision or a thought process, or we come up with an idea, or we maybe agree on something and we're in a positive, neutral mental space, you're going to have a much better outcome than if you're making a reactive, fear-based, blame, shame, or guilt decision. So ultimately, the whole goal of martial arts, the whole goal of all these things, and the whole goal of being the CEO of your life is actually to become a master of your thoughts. And I call this Thought Tinder. So Thought Tinder is a really simple way of actually swiping left on old programming and negativity and choosing the right thoughts. So this is neuroplasticity. It's like your mind gym. So anytime you flex a mental muscle, it's the same thing as flexing a bicep. So you choose which muscle do you want to flex. Do you want to flex the fear, blame, shame, guilt, doubt, all the old programming? Do you want to fill that bucket? Or do you actually want to start flexing a more positive outlook, one of curiosity? And I'm going to give you a little proverb about that right now. So if you've just joined me, I'm talking a little bit of martial arts speak in your mental mindset at the moment. If you haven't been watching the Netflix series on I think it's all the world's training, it's with world's fight clubs, it's been pretty cool. And I wanted to draw your attention to the ancient Chinese philosophy of Wu Wei. And putting that into simple terms, you gotta get in flow. And that means sometimes no action is the best place for you to sit, because you can really sit down and calm your breath and make the best conscious decisions and stop yourself feeling stressed, because we're all addicted to issues and problems and feeling stressed. Now, if you're a CEO, if you're a parent, if you're a student, if you're just anyone, you want to break up with overwhelm. It is not a co-requisite for living. Stressing out and opting out and freaking out is not a co-requisite for running a business either. Yes, we have short staff. Yes, there's so much uncertainty. Yes, mortgage prices and interest rates are going through the roof. Yes, travel has started up again. Yes, there's all these amazing things going on. But how you deal with the world is really how you master your absolute optimum Olympics in your own life. So a couple of things. Number one, what I always say to my CEOs is, why do you pick up the heavy lifting when you know that this is your first rodeo? You can go and do this time and time again, but we have an addiction to go, oh my God, this is so hard and I've got to force my way through it and I'm going to have to pitch something and sell something. No, you do not. The most important thing you have to do is remember that is an old way of working, which is feeling that you have to force your way through something to get validation or a result. And then you're like, yeah, I really punched through that. And at what cost do you do that to run a business, run a family, get your goals going, where you're constantly forcing yourself, where you're exhausted all the time because you're never stopping and trusting all this intelligence, all this experience, and the fact there's always going to be a solution. So the first thing is slow yourself down and practice what I call owling, which is, are you picking up all the heavy lifting? Are you addicted to kind of overcoming things? Are you addicted to talking about climbing mountains and, you know, overachieving and I push through that and resilience and these kind of heavy kind of topics, rather than realizing that if you had a little bit of what we call Wu Wei, you could have a little bit more flow. And even though you're going to do a lot of capacity, because the more you manifest, the busier you're going to get. It's just the way it works. So even though you're going to have all this abundance, you're going to have all this capacity, more people are going to need you. The more successful you are, the more people are going to need you. The better you grow, the more staff you're going to have. The more products you're going to create, the more success you're going to have, the more ideas you're going to have. That is like being in a state of abundance. So you need to learn how to manage that energy effectively, and picking up the heavy lifting topics and always going, yes, right, flow, picking up those heavy lifting topics and always going, oh my God, it's so tough. That is not a badge of honor. That is a 1960s operating system for where we are now. We're far too intelligent and we keep missing the main point, which is, if you're still complaining that life is hard, if you're still moaning that it's all really difficult, you've got to deal with this and that, then you have the wrong tone going on in your world. Because if you can swap that fear and that heaviness for curiosity and agility, everything will completely change at the same time. Now, this is the same thing as hitting a tennis ball across the net. If you're Roger Federer, it doesn't get easier when you want to stay at the top of your game, right? You have to learn how to change your grip. You have to learn how to send a ball back, receive a ball differently, and you're going to have all these different opponents. So the more successful you get, you've got to be constantly evolving and understand your own experience, your own core areas of expertise, and always be curious. He doesn't just go, oh my God, it's too hard, throw his tennis racket down and walk off. Actually, the whole point of having an award-winning brain, a high-performance brain, and enjoying the process of abundance is how you approach managing that capacity. And it is really a choice, and I'm going to give you that analogy. So imagine you're sitting there in the Serengeti and there's two chairs. So there's one person next to you and you're here, or there's two people, and a massive lion walks across. This is what I always say in my presentations. A big lion walking across. There's two people sitting in the chairs. It's the Serengeti. It's sunset. It's probably like lion's going to be a bit hungry, whatever else. And then basically one person goes, oh my God, shit, it's a lion. And they start freaking out and sweating and trembling. And they go to get up and run and they start thinking about their family and all the things that are going to happen. And lions tearing gazelles apart on television. And they get all these images and they go straight to fear mode, straight to panic mode, and straight to worst scenario mode. Then the other person in the chair, and that could be you, is going, oh, wow, that's so cool. That's a lion. I'm just going to sit quietly and I'm going to observe and see what that lion does. And that lion's kind of walking past, breathing heavily. And that person's sitting going, wow, I'm just not going to move. I don't know much about what this lion's done or where it's been, but I know enough to sit still and I'm not going to panic because running will be the worst thing that I can do. And I'm going, that is so cool. I'm up close to the lion. So you've got one lion and you've got two different people and two different experiences with how they perceive that lion. Now this lion is life. Often in life we have one situation, but it all comes down to the perspective that you have as to actually what you do with that situation. So one person can come up with a financial challenge and they will absolutely love devouring that challenge because it's an area of their expertise and they do it time and time again, day in, day out. The other person is allergic to spreadsheets. They don't want to know their numbers and they have a complete panic and it suddenly becomes too much for them. So same issue, two different responses. So the whole part that I love about martial arts and high performance and everything else is the fact that when you can master your mind, when you swap filling the heavy old programming bucket, when you stop picking up the heavy baggage, when you stop freaking out and thinking about catastrophes, and when you realize that you can just shift a little bit around the corner and you can calm everything down and you can lean into your experience and you can trust yourself and you can get grounded, your whole entire world will shift. So remember, if you're listening to this and you're manifesting all that success and you're really looking forward to everything, then you better be ready that with that success and with that dynamism and with that drive and with that focus, you're just going to get sent a whole bunch of stuff. How you handle that stuff is the absolute art of mastering self, and that's self-leadership, and that's all I care about day in, day out, is that we have strong people feeling really confident and calm in themselves, making good decisions, because then you'll have lots of people doing the same thing, and that will make such a difference. There is no reason to panic. There is no reason to freak out, unless there's a gun to your head, of course, and even then, when you're in the military, you're trained to stay calm and do the next right thing. So, that's why I think I'm addicted to kind of like, martial arts thing or high performance sport things or mindset training, because in order to really find your absolute mojo and be in a chaotic world that everybody's in, we kind of need to think of ourselves as athletes. But we're so busy saying what's wrong, and we're so busy with the heavy lifting, and we're so busy going, oh my God, it's too hard, that we forget the opportunity that we have to drop that sentence, to drop that old programming, and to go, actually, this is pretty cool. And actually, if you're listening to this right now and you want a copy of Radical Self-Belief, the book, and you ask me a question, then I will send you one out, because that is all about suiting up and making sure that you can enjoy the rally of life. Instead of being frightened by what's going on in your world, instead of being overwhelmed by responsibility, think, wow, it's pretty cool. And the funny thing as well is when people whinge about paying taxes and everything else, there are just certain things we can't change. So if you earn more and you have to pay more, factor it in, adult your way through it. But the most important thing is all about perception. So imagine you're one of those two people in the Serengeti. There's a massive lion that's walking past. Is your response absolute freak out, or is your response curiosity? Because it's the same scenario, two different perceptions. So Wu Wei is all about inaction, right? That's what's really, really, really cool about martial arts, is sometimes it's the tiniest movements that can have the biggest impact. And you don't all need to be Conor McGregor, but you do need to understand your knowledge. You need to understand your philosophies. You need to understand your experience, and you need to look at, how do I want to approach my day? So if you're waking up in the morning or you're going to bed at night and you're feeling really heavy and disillusioned at the moment and you're feeling totally overwhelmed, my challenge to you is reach out to me. I can give you some great tools and some good worksheets. You know, even with Monday Mojo, there's a whole bunch of worksheets that you get for free. The problem is that people don't do the work. They go, oh my God, I would really love that. And then they just don't do the work. And then you wonder why you're not sitting in the high performance seat in your life, because what you've done is you've gone, it's too hard. So I'm like, don't show up for coaching unless you really want to do the work, because that is where the breakthroughs happen. And that's what's so cool, is that total authenticity, that ability to lean in and to understand. Thought Tinder, episode 149 on Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast. I think it's in the bio links for my Instagram account in Fogden-Moore. But please remember, the only person who's in charge of what you think about something is you. You're in the driver's seat. Nobody can tell you to be happy. Nobody can tell you to be stressed. It is about mastering your viewpoint of how you want to navigate life. And if you are manifesting abundance, and if you are setting yourself up for the next best year ever, and if you are excited but you're feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, then you need to realize that life doesn't get less capacity if you want more things. But navigating it, that's where you get to suit up like a rally. So all seasons and all conditions. And when you have that approach, where you have the approach to train your brain and to think about yourself like a bit of an athlete, and to not point the finger at anyone else, but go, this is my side of the street. What do I want to do? How do I want to view things? I want to break up with overwhelm, and I'm going to drop the feeling of stress. And that is really, really important to, that's a great question. Thank you so much. I'm going to answer that in a second. What's really important is that self-leadership. So off the back of that, Pono Living, hello Letitia, good to see you. She says, how do you guide people to find their own safety within? Now this all comes back to the concept of Wu Wei, or in martial arts, the Chinese proverb of inaction. The only time something is unstable is if it's constantly moving, right? But when something is completely still, like an oak tree, or the base of a bottle, for example, that's because it's sitting down and it's not moving. Then that's how you make sure that you can actually listen to what you truly want. You can listen to your own heartbeat, and you can listen to your own breath. That's why breath work is so important for high performance surfers and sports people, and even presidents go and do that stuff to get grounded and have safety within. Then you need to slow down and actually connect with yourself, because nobody else can give you that. And that actually is where there's a whole lot of false advertising about quick fixes, or we'll give you your confidence. That's an inside job. But unlocking that and guiding people to do that is about creating a space where someone can hold space for themselves. And it is absolute breath. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, and if you're feeling stressed out, if it's about finances, or maybe you don't have enough customers, or maybe you don't have enough money for Christmas presents and everyone else around you is doing something fantastic, but you just can't do that, that doesn't matter. So what you need to do is get out of the fear thinking and get into being radically present. And the way that you do that is the number one thing. It's the only thing that we need as human beings on this planet, regardless of anything else, and that is your breath. So when you master that, it's the only thing you need to do to bring you back to being present, is to start listening to your breath, and you're automatically back to being present. So that's a really, really good question, Letitia, is to ask that. How do you guide people to find their safety within? You slow them down and you say, listen to your breath. Because when you've got that breath, you start to get the rhythm of your heart, you start to slow everything down, you start to hear things that really matter. But it's very, very important. And that's why anxiety can be so dangerous, because what it does is it has people hyperventilating. When you hyperventilate and you start freaking out and opting out, you can't get a grip on reality, and it can become a self-fulfilling train that's really hard to stop. So our job at the moment as leaders in life is to have self-leadership, is not to go out there with a big banner and tell everybody else what to do, but to lead by example. And that's what I'm trying to do today. I wanted to give you my little martial arts talk today about Wu Wei. Actually, there's some incredible fighting from generations and way back in history. I think it's called Leather Wei or something, and that's like every single possible thing you can use. It's pretty brutal. But I was watching the series on Netflix about these young fighters in Thailand and Muay Thai and everything else, and they get absolutely nothing. But they're at the top of their game, and they go and they sleep on these funny little mattresses in the middle of nowhere, and they fight so hard just for something for their family. and yet there's all this money being bet on them and everybody else makes a profit. And those people that are putting themselves on the line are really not getting a lot. So, you know, we have to lift people up. We have to have reciprocity. We have to recognize those in our community that are fighting for a chance and give them the hand up they deserve and pay people equally and be good humans. That's also important, but that has to start at home and it has to start with self-leadership. So I hope that I've explained a little bit of what Wu Wei is and why I think, you know, the act of martial arts and of being completely present. I'm completely fascinated with Israeli fighting, Krav Maga, not because it's a fight, but because quite that opposite. They are in close combat and they try and disarm, and they are using their bodies as weapons because they've had to. They've had to come from this tiny country. I think it's in between 7 different countries. Their whole upbringing is different from mine in New Zealand. I didn't have to worry about the South Island attacking the North Island, you know. So listening to different cultures and understanding different people and going into different dojos and reading up about different things and meeting different athletes just completely is so interesting. And there's so many commonalities in what brings a person into their best self, and that is self-leadership. And this is a really, really important video today, and I'll put it on my website, I'll put it on my YouTube channel at Fogden-Moore, and hopefully on LinkedIn as well. And I just want to say thank you for the t-shirt, Damien, when you were in, I think it was North Carolina. So this is North Carolina, it's the Wolves, it's the university, very cool. I do love varsity sports from the States, so this is very cool, so thank you very much. But you've kind of got to be a wolf, and you've got to realize, do you want to feed the black wolf or the white wolf, the dark wolf or the light wolf, you know, and that's up to you. So once again, one lion, 2 different perspectives. So whatever you're facing in your life, you have to trust yourself. And that's ultimately every day what I do with my clients is teach that radical self-leadership. And most people don't want to actually change. They don't want that stuff. They just want to go, oh yeah, I bought a book and I read it overnight. Woo! I'm like, well, how's that going to help? You know, reading something overnight is not going to make you a genius. I don't think it's anything to be proud of. I think applying some of the worksheets and slowing yourself down and learning and doing the work, that is something to be proud of, because that will get you radical results. And remember, it's what you do when no one's watching. So I super hope that you've enjoyed this live. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. One of these days I'll figure out how to do captions. I've got no idea when I'm filming live. So if anyone knows how to do captions when you're doing Instagram live, I will really love that. If you're interested in hearing more about coaching, the boardroom and the boat boardroom retreats up here for 2023, and also the online programs, every Radical Self-Belief cool online program comes with a signed copy of this book and all the 4 worksheets. I've tried to create a learning system, whether it's podcasts, videos, worksheets, a book. I've put everything together to have a completely integrated approach, and most of all, you have to show up. So, and if you've got questions, there is a reply to Nikki email, and it's me that you get. So we don't have bots, and we don't have different VAs that are pretending to be me. Unfortunately, it's just me. Occasionally you might get the odd spelling mistake, but that is my absolute commitment. I might do things a little bit slower, and but it's 100% genuine, because I'd rather go for quality over quantity, and that is absolutely my pledge in the work that I do. So come and join me. If you love this, drop a comment, a like, share it please as well. And if you've got topics or questions you'd love me to talk about, but I hope that I've given you a little bit of a platform to understand how breath work and self-leadership and the art of inaction and flow, or Wu Wei, the Chinese proverb, can be so powerful. So no matter what situation you're in, what boardroom, what train station, what house at the moment, I want you to remember that you matter, but you have to be in the driver's seat. So I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. Come like and subscribe. Join me on Monday Mojo, like Vitality Coach or N Fogden-Moore on YouTube. I'd love to have you hang out on Instagram. Please share the profile. I'm pretty crap at self-promotion, so I'm saying please share. That would be really great. And if you haven't already, get yourself a signed copy of Radical Self-Belief. It comes with all the quotes and the workbooks, and I hope I've inspired you today to be a little bit more Wu Wei in life, and I can guarantee you it will get you really radical results. So until next time, you stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to be back. and I've loved your company. So have a radical day whenever you're listening to this, and I'll see you next time on my channel, wherever it is that you're listening. Bye.